welcome to Late Night with Larry. I'm your host, Larry D. We're here doing it once again. I'm with my co-host, Vince. Vince, give me a shout out.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Larry D Studios. Here we are in the midst of a lockdown with the crazy pandemic going on, and it's nice to say winter is finally settling in.
It is. It's starting to get cold out there.
Yeah.
And I'm not a fan of the cold people, so, you know,
Yeah.
I'm ready for summer.
But right now, it's nice. It's not too cold, and it's just kind of strange, middle of November and being in the 70s.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it took a while to get cold, but here we are. And tonight, my brother has some UFO encounters, you were saying?
Yeah, I had a friend of mine share some stories with me, so I'm going to share them with you. But before we move forward, we need to take the second part of our coronavirus vaccine.
That's right. Part 2 of the vaccine, people.
Okay,
So,
I hope it works. Oh, man, I can feel it working already.
I feel so much better already.
Okay,
All right.
so a little background. I work... It's kind of out in the boonies here in New Mexico. It's a mine. It's an open pit mine. So what open pit is, for some of you not familiar with the mining industry, is we strip everything on top and we have these big pits where we go after whatever we go after. Now, I talked to a friend of mine. His name, we call him Mick. That's not his real name, but we'll just use Mick because that's kind of a nickname that I don't know where it came from. He's been out there over 30 years, and I carpooled with him a few days last week, and he just started sharing stories with me because we started talking, and we watched the same TV shows. You know, we like the Ancient Aliens. He knows I'm into the paranormal, stuff like that, so he shared some stories with me. Now, the first one I want to share is a UFO flying over the mine site. He said one night they were working, and the way it is our pits are in the bottom, and the trucks haul to the top, and that's where they get rid of the waste or whatever we're mining, they take it out of the pit. He went up to the top, and one of his equipment he was on, just to clean the roads or whatever he was doing, and he said he heard there was an old Mexican man working at the guard shack, and he heard him kind of frantically saying, there's something there, you know, somebody bring a camera. So he looked on the other side of the mine, and he saw something in the air. It was just kind of hovering, moving real slow, but he said it was emitting like a purple light.
Huh.
And but that light would light up everything. A big area, he said. It would light up almost the whole mine. And you could see it. It passed over them very slowly, not making any sounds. And it went over the whole mine site and eventually disappeared around the mountain there. It's Mount Taylor.
Oh, okay.
But he said it would light it up. It was purple light, but it was like bright as day. He told me that happened, oh man, probably over 20 years ago.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's just crazy to hear. He said that old man was kind of frantic on the radio, so that caused everyone was chiming in. What is it? What is it? What is it?
Right. I could imagine people are like, what the hell's he talking about?
Yeah. Now, our father worked out there also, and he told me stories about UFOs out there, and even a UFO landing out there and the government going and getting it. Now,
Right.
Of course, we'll never hear that story.
No, you know, things like that just won't be told to us. They keep them from us, and they don't want us to know about it because they think we're too dumb, that we can't handle it. I beg to differ.
Right. Well, they say one-on-one people are pretty intelligent, pretty cool-headed, but the masses are what panic.
A mass panic. I
Yeah.
can see that. But that's crazy that you say that it emitted like a purple light, because I've heard stories, UFO stories, where people themselves talk about these things emitting the light. Now, some of them don't say it's purple. Why this one was purple, who knows? But they say it's a bright, like a spotlight that just hits the ground.
Yeah.
And some people have said that it like searches. It was like a searchlight. Oh, now what they're doing, I couldn't tell you. maybe someday I'll get abducted, and after they probe me, they'll give me one question. So who knows?
Yeah, one question.
One question.
I would hope after they probe you, they at least give you three.
Hey, well, it's, I'm like, they say one probe, one question.
Yeah. Okay, I'll stick to one question. Okay,
No.
here comes the second story he told me. He was going to work, and what we do is we usually meet in the nearby town, and we carpool just to save gas, and it breaks up the monotony of the drive. So he was carpooling with two other people at the time, and when they were probably about 15 minutes before you get to the mine, the driver of the car said, "What is that noise?" He said, "It sounds like my car's grinding." And he said that Mick said he didn't hear anything. So he said, I'll roll down my window and I'll kind of stick my ear out and see if I could hear anything, see if I could locate where it's coming from. So he rolled his window down, kind of stuck his head out a little bit, and he heard the noise that the driver was talking about. And he's like, "You know what? I hear that, but I don't think it's your car. It's coming from off in the distance." So they stopped, they pulled over, and they looked up ahead of them. He said it was a big, like a saucer-shaped UFO, and it was just going over there by the mine. He said it was flying over, and then it just, like I said, it disappeared into the mountains again. It was during the day.
Well, I think that area up by Mount Taylor, that there's been a lot of UFO sightings there, and even north of that, because where he's talking about, if New Mexico's not a very big state, so if you go north from where he's talking about, or let's say northeast a little, there's a place called the Hickory Apache Tribe, and from where he works, I'm gonna say it's maybe to Cuba, maybe an hour?
Maybe.
So to Hickory, maybe 2 hours. And Hickory has some of the most sightings in New Mexico. And supposedly there's an alien base
Right.
Located in Dulce, New Mexico, which I've never been to. They probably wouldn't let me go in. But I can't remember the man's name, that he was a whistleblower. And he talked about this deep underground base that supposedly the aliens inhabited, and
Right.
the government knew about. Now himself, he talked about going down into this space and having a shootout with these aliens. He showed the burn from the laser on his chest. Long story short, this man ended up dead, and they said he committed suicide. They said he strangled himself, but it could have been a result of him disclosing what he knew. Who
Right.
knows?
I'm sure, and I've heard stories where the government tells people to keep quiet.
Right, and they did tell him to, keep quiet or face the consequences.
Right. Now, you mentioned the Hickory Reservation. There's a lot of Bigfoot activity up there also, and a lot of people, they tie the two together, UFO UFO and Bigfoot. They say there's a connection somewhere. We haven't found it or proved it yet, but that's just a theory.
But there's a lot of people have that theory that wherever there's a Bigfoot, there's an alien, and vice versa.
Right.
And the reason they do is some people see a UFO sighting, and then they see a Bigfoot and have a Bigfoot sighting, and they just put the two together. They say, well, since I saw one, I saw the other. They must tie in.
Right.
Not
right.
coincidence. But those are interesting stories.
Yeah. Another one he told me was at the mine we have these big pieces of equipment. They're called earth movers. They're the ones that uncover. They strip the dirt basically, and they don't run on gasoline or diesel. They're electric. So we have this big power cable. We have these substations in different parts of the mine, and what we do is we lay out the cable. We connect it with junction boxes or whatever, and this guy Mick, he was laying cable one night. What we do is we lay cable ahead of when we have an equipment move. So when we move the equipment, the cable's already there and set up. We just plug in and go.
Right.
So he was laying out cable, and it was out. The mine is big, it's miles long. So he was out in a secluded area. The only other person there was a driller, there was a ridge he was drilling, which was going to be the next site that they go dig up. But he was laying out the cable and he saw something. He said it looked like a diamond-shaped craft.
Right.
And he said it looked black, but he couldn't really tell the color because it was night. But he said it looked black. And he called the driller because it had a flashing light on it.
Oh, okay.
So he called the driller. He said, "Hey, can you see that? What is that over there?" And the driller said, "No, I don't see nothing." And he said it was kind of hovering over toward the drill. So he told him it's coming right toward you. So he said the driller shut down his drilling rig, turned off the lights, and went outside on the deck, and that thing flew right up to him. He said he stood out there and looked at it, and he still had no idea what it was. It was just a diamond-shaped craft that was hovering, not making no noise. But they said all of a sudden, it just took off like a shot up into the sky.
How big was this? Did he tell you how big it was?
He didn't give specifics, but it wasn't huge. You know, like you see these big motherships.
Right.
More probably about...
Maybe the size of a car, like a Scout.
Well, maybe a little bigger than a car. Maybe like half the size or a quarter the size of your house.
Oh, okay.
So it's not like tiny like on Star Wars, but it's
Right.
It's pretty, not huge, but it's big. You know, big enough to fit several personnel.
Right.
But they said it was weird because it just, even the guy on the drill told him he stood there, then it just took off up in the sky. He said like a shot, it was gone.
Like and too often, people that have sightings say that's how they take off. They see them at a standstill and then they blink their eye and they're gone. I mean, these things have incredible speed, you know, and those craft like that, they can't be government craft unless they're a drone, because those kind of G's are going to kill anyone in that vehicle. You'd become spaghetti or mashed potatoes against that wall.
Right, and I know I've been in military aircraft, and when we would go out to the ship, we do what's called a carrier break. What they do is they fly over the carrier and they do a hard bank so they could come around and then make their landing.
Right.
And there's it was just a dual prop airplane. You know, we would take supplies to the ship.
Right.
It wasn't a jet by any means, but those G's alone, you're sitting in your seat, you could feel the springs popping because it's pulling you down.
Right.
And then you start to get tunnel vision, like you're gonna black out.
Right. Well, that's what I mean by it. Can you imagine a craft that were to zoom off at that rate of speed?
Right.
What it would do to a human?
It would just it'd pull your spine through your body.
Yeah. Among some other things.
But okay, but now back to Mick's stories. He has another story. It don't involve work, but him and his wife were down south by the Las Cruces.
Oh, okay.
And they were coming back because their daughter was going to school, so they were coming back. He lives on the reservation, and they saw one in the sky. He said this one was different. It was like a cigar shape. And he said on one end, it even looked like it was lit. I don't know if that was a propulsion side, but it lit up, and he said you could actually hear it. Woo, woo, woo.
Like a pulsing?
Yeah, like a pulsing.
And there again, I've heard of craft that do that and craft that pulse, you know, and
right.
If you watch some of these UFO shows, many people say they heard a pulsing sound. And some people even said that you could see the pulse. Now, there again, I haven't been that close to one, but who am I to call them a liar?
Right. Now, we're at work. This was just last week, and he told me the stories. We were discussing it a little, and as we were discussing it, people would come up to me, kind of one-on-one or a group of two or three, and they would tell me little things that they saw. And there's one guy who claims he even saw like the triangle, like in Phoenix.
Right.
He saw that. And there's a lot of strange going-ons out there. I've seen things myself. I've seen lights out in the distance. I don't know. Why would they be there? We're out in the middle of nowhere. And then right before the sun comes up, it just faded away and disappeared. And there was nothing out there when the sun came up.
Right. No.
But they all came through. Several people told me some stories. And it's funny, though, because I said, well, how come you didn't tell me the story when everyone else is around? Oh, I just wanted to talk to you one-on-one because you know how people are.
Right.
It's the ridicule thing.
Yeah, they don't want people to think that they're a cuckoo.
Right.
But you know, really in today's age, Vince, no, so many people are seeing things that they can't explain that I don't think anyone really would consider you a cuckoo.
Right.
I mean, stories like what you're telling now they're basically pulp culture now.
Yes.
They're all over the TV, Travel Channel, all over documentaries on Amazon, on Netflix. So.
Right. There's a big part of it is there's a lot of video evidence now to back it up.
Right.
It's either people are more accepting or we're all cuckoos.
Well, I'm going to go with number 2 now.
But anyway, I've been thinking about this since way back when my dad told me the stories about alien spacecraft or UFOs, whatever they are, being out there and landing. Now, we got the open pit mine, so all the minerals are exposed. Is that why we have so much traffic?
I'm thinking that that's one of the biggest things. And I've heard stories that aliens don't want us to destroy this earth, especially with nuclear warfare, because it'll become a wasteland.
Right.
And I have heard that they come down and they take water from our oceans. They take natural resources, which is minerals. And I've also heard that they take not only the precious minerals, but gold. Gold's like one thing that they don't take it all. They just take what they need.
Right. Now, where we're at, everything's uncovered, so it'd be easy for them to access.
Right.
And when we do uncover these pits, there is a lot of water. We usually have to pump it out of the pit into ponds. So
Right.
the water's there, minerals there.
Well, I wonder if they take water because, a hydrogen fuel or whatnot. I wonder, or if they actually drink it.
Well, I was going to say, if they're living life forms, anything like us, you would think they need water.
Right. I would imagine so. I was watching a program on Gaia, and this was a guy that has been out here to New Mexico, to the Air Force Base and Los Alamos, and he was talking about an alien in the mid 80s that got away from Area 51, and he was part of the recovery team. And he talked about this alien, described this alien. He said there was more than one. That they had like 3 different types of aliens, which the Greys, they said, was one of them. And they would all communicate with us, except this one. It would not communicate. Now, he said it was not aggressive. It would cooperate freely, but it wouldn't communicate with us. Now, he described this one, and did you ever see the movie Contact?
No, I remember the movie, but I don't think I ever seen it.
When I think it was Contact, when the alien boy, or maybe it was with Charlie Sheen. I don't know if it was Contact. Well, the little boy, his legs bent backwards. He was one of those aliens. And when he was in Mexico, doing his, investigating on these UFOs, they had backwards knees like ours bent forward. Mm-hmm. He said this alien did the same thing. And like maybe that's where Hollywood got the idea.
Right. We've talked about the conspiracies between Hollywood and the government, how the government throws out little bits and pieces. And, a lot of these stories, folklore or movies even, there's always a grain of truth to it, how it originated.
Always. I mean, you don't think these people think of these ideas on their own.
Right.
I mean, there's always someone's thrown a piece of nugget and they run with it.
Right. But anyway, getting back to the aliens at the mine. Now, like I said, we have everything exposed, and, there may be gold, there may be diamonds, because,
Coal.
But there may be other minerals which we haven't yet even identified or know how to use that they could use.
And maybe they don't need to dig to extract them,
Well, when our dad told me the story about the one landing there, he said when it landed, there was big holes like spikes had went into the ground.
Okay, well, I mean, but they go right in and get what they need. You know, they're not like us. We got to dig up tons of dirt to get.
Right. But I mean, if we already did the hard work, it's easy pickings.
Oh, for them, yeah, definitely. And that's interesting. I wonder what they're out after. I mean, I doubt it's coal, but
You never know. It could be they might have a different use for it.
maybe they use it for their heaters on their ships.
Maybe coal is like alien Viagra.
Maybe. Oh,
I'm gonna start eating it. Check it out.
okay, Santa, bring me coal in my stocking.
That's why he takes it to the bad boys, right?
Hey, there you go. Any more stories this guy tell you?
That's all he told me. We only carpooled a couple of days, but everyone out there has stories. It's just they're hesitant to tell me. And now that they know the podcast, that we have the podcast, they've been listening. So some of them have been coming forward, telling me, giving me little nuggets here and there, saying we'll talk later. I'm hoping to get some of them on the show. We're in the midst of the COVID thing, but we ordered a board that will enable us to take more phone calls. So
Right.
once that goes through, hopefully we could have some more guests on.
Absolutely. We're still waiting. Hello.
You.
Yes. Now, hopefully, they said, of course, they told me 1st of November. Now it's tomorrow's the 30th.
Yep.
So tomorrow, we'll see if they're right. It should ship out tomorrow, or they better receive it by tomorrow.
Right.
Yeah, but I'm getting a little frustrated.
Yes.
Yes. Anyway, those are some good stories.
Yeah.
you-
And it's a credible source, and there's more. I'm sure I'll be able to add on to this. There's more. I've encountered some stuff, and I've even had my supervisors tell me. One of them said he was going down to the pit, and we dig a ditch where we could park the trucks so they can't roll, where it's safe.
Right.
So he was going down, and he saw a bunch of people standing around. So of course he flipped a U-turn. He's like, "What are these people doing? They're supposed to be working."
Right.
When he went back, nobody was there.
Oh, wow. That's
Yeah, and another supervisor told me about lights in the distance over there in one of our distant pits. It was always people say it was haunted because there was sightings of, we used to call it the pajama baby, but there was a little kid that they would spot on the side of the road walking
wow.
like
That's-
3 a.m.
And and I won't disagree with them, because I know I've heard of stories, and my wife has a story of. Well, I think we talked about it on one of our podcasts about the little girl that they
Right.
saw at the
Right.
at the hospital.
Same thing.
Yeah, same thing. Everyone's asking, what's this little girl doing out here at 3 a.m. in the hospital?
Yeah, but
Yeah, it's
yeah.
not a little girl.
Yeah, out in that pit, you see, my supervisor told me this. He seen lights in the distance, so he went to see who it was because no one was supposed to be out there.
Right.
And then they moved. He could never get to the light. But everybody out there has experienced something or knows a firsthand story. It's just getting them to talk about it.
Right. I mean, and you guys are out there, and it's so secluded. Who knows what's buried on that land?
Or and who knows what we unearthed, what we disturbed. You know,
Right.
I shouldn't say that because everything's supposed to be cleared by our archaeologists before we dig. But
But no one's perfect. They may have looked only so deep, and someone could have been buried deeper, or
right, exactly.
and then you disturb that, and who knows? No one truly knows. There's just so many unexplained phenomena
Right.
that happens in this world that there's not an explanation for it. And one of the biggest are UFO sightings.
Right. And our state is one of the hot spots.
Very hot spot.
Yeah. But if you have stories, we'd love to hear them. We'd love to have you on, or we'll even share them for you.
That's right.
Some people don't want to be, identified or singled out.
That's right. And we usually give it at the beginning. I apologize. And you can get in touch with us at latenightwithlarry55@gmail.com. And shoot us an email. Let us know what you think.
Yeah, you usually give it at the beginning. It must be that coronavirus vaccine.
It was that coronavirus vaccine.
It's kicking in. I think it's working.
It's working. I'm starting to feel better. I might actually go back to work tomorrow.
Oh, let's not get carried away here.
Right. But anyway, that's what we wanted to share with you tonight, and we hope to hear from you. Maybe you got a story to tell us, and we'd love to hear it, whether it be a UFO story, a haunting story, or a Bigfoot story.
Or even want to tell us about your mother-in-law. We'll listen.
That's right. This guy right here. So,
Yep.
thanks for listening. Be cool to each other. Peace.
Peace out.